morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. This weekend in the United States, only one new movie hits theaters, and it's The Legend of Hercules starring Kellen Lutz. So you might be tempted to just stay home, but I urge you to go to theaters anyway because two Oscar contenders go wide this weekend. The first is Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix, written and directed by Spike Jonze. And as you might recall, it's my third favorite film of the year. But the other movie going wide this weekend, Lone Survivor, is what I really want to talk about this morning. Now, as you also might recall from my review for that film, while I think it's a very important film to see, and I do urge you to go, I left the theater in frustration because it depicts the Navy SEALs not really getting the support they should be getting from the military. And I felt that the movie really should have ended with a call to action for what we civilians can do to help out, because obviously the military, no matter what, can use all the help it can get. But even more so, you're seeing that they're being let down by the armed forces. So I put a call out in my review asking anybody watching who served in the military or who is currently serving what they suggest civilians can do to kind of create our own call to action. And today, with the movie going wide, I wanted to share some of the suggestions that I received, either in the comments section or also I got some very touching emails. Now, the obvious thing is donations. People said the USO is obviously a very good organization, but another organization that got a lot of love is the Wounded Warrior Project. A lot of military people feel this does a lot of good, the Wounded Warrior Project, and it's worth your money. Because I think, obviously, when you're giving a donation, you want to make sure it gets where it's intended. You don't want it to go into the pockets of whoever's running the charity. So USO and the Wounded Warrior Project are places that you should consider giving to. Now, also, another really, I thought, out-of-the-box suggestion, which shouldn't be out of the box, but might not occur to you offhand, is to consider hiring a veteran. I thought that was a wonderful suggestion because, it's always better to, instead of giving a hand out, to helping hand. And I recalled a recent news story about a firehouse. It was somewhere here in the Northeast that was hiring veterans to serve as firemen, and they were doing, actively recruiting them. And I thought that was wonderful because, once a soldier's service is done, they of course want to build a new life and ideally use the very formidable skills that you pick up in the military. So I thought that was a really great suggestion. But you might be thinking, well, hey, it's hard for me to give a donation, or, I'm not hiring anyone. What can I do? And I think that the thing that you can do the most, which is the most important that I gathered from the suggestions that were given, was just show gratitude and respect to soldiers. Put your politics aside. I think particularly today and post-Vietnam, it's very easy to mix up your politics, or maybe you might be against some of our military action or military action in general. I saw a lot of comments about how people felt Lone Survivor. Some people felt it was just military propaganda, which I think, that's disrespectful of the sacrifice. I mean, if you'd seen the film, you would know that this certainly would not, this isn't some, yay, the military is all roses, a bed of roses and heroes. I mean, it really is a gritty reality of what it is to serve, and I think is humbling for that reason. So I wouldn't, and so that's a great example of, calling Lone Survivor propaganda is not only wrong, but really disrespectful and hurtful to soldiers. So when you see a soldier, put your politics aside, say thank you, shake their hand, and also, maybe buy their cup of coffee. One of the particularly touching emails I got was from a Navy spouse who said that her husband, before he was even deployed, was really humbled when they were at an airport and some other diners paid for their dinner without even saying anything. They'd already left when the waitress informed this woman and her husband that their meal had been paid for. And the Navy soldier, I wasn't sure if he was a SEAL or not. She just said she was a Navy spouse, but was just really humbled and touched by that gesture and almost felt unworthy because he had yet to serve in the actual field. But it really touched him, and I think that those gestures go a long way in giving the people, soldiers, this strength of spirit. I'm sorry, I want to make sure I strike the right tone here. This is a very touchy subject, but and don't dwell, just a handshake and a thank you and a good deed. I thought it was a nice touch that those people didn't stick around to get their thank yous when they paid for the meal. They just did it out of the kindness of their hearts. So I think that is those are some wonderful suggestions. Thank you for everybody who wrote in. And also I hope everybody considers those. And after they see Lone Survivor, or even if you don't see Lone Survivor, it's always nice to show your support for the armed forces and the sacrifice that they make, which is on, fearful display in Lone Survivor. All right, so that's the first story of the day. The second story of the day is that, we're talking a lot about all we're unsure about what DC's choices are, but I think one of actually the only big slip up that Marvel has made to date is with the Mandarin. People are very upset with how that character was treated. By the way, spoilers, if you have not seen Iron Man 3 by now, you have to realize that spoilers are fair game. So people were very upset that there was a twist that Ben Kingsley was not the Mandarin, but actually an actor, a British actor that Guy Pearce's character, Aldrich Killian, had hired to kind of be like this fake front for the terrorist group, to kind of be a scapegoat for his testing his weapons and such. So people were very angry that they felt that was disrespectful treatment of the iconic to Iron Man fans. I feel even the general comic book reading public readership isn't really aware of the Mandarin. He's never been really big on my radar, but still, at the end of the day, people were angry. Now, Marvel is not running away from this controversy. It was announced yesterday that there will be another Marvel one-shot, which is what they're calling their short films, on the Thor The Dark World Blu-ray called All Hail the King, which focuses on that actor, Trevor Slattery, still played by Ben Kingsley, and his adventures in prison. Interestingly, it will be Seagate Prison, where Luke Cage became, the superhero that he is today. So there are rumored they wouldn't give them away in the coverage, but there are some cameos apparently in the short, so maybe it is Luke Cage. And so this short follows Trevor Slattery's adventures in prison. And it's basically a documentary is being made about him, and he's soaking up all the attention because as an actor, he's really getting his dream come true to be famous, or in this case, notoriety. Now, the short film is written and directed by Drew Pearce, who was a co-writer with Shane Black on Iron Man 3. And it really sounds like he got away with a lot here, and it sounds like it really goes into depth. This seems even maybe a little longer than the usual Marvel one-shot. And actually, it sounds so interesting that I'm tempted to maybe get the Marvel, the Thor The Dark World Blu-ray. I usually don't buy Blu-rays just to see this. And so the question here is this Marvel's trying to, fix a mess? By saying, because basically the context of the short is that maybe the Ten Rings is a real terrorist organization, which had nothing to do with Guy Pearce's plan. And understandably, they would be upset if just some British actor came along and said, hey, guess what, I'm the face of the organization. So that's the setup, in addition to the humor of Trevor Slattery kind of capitalizing off of his newfound infamy. And so the question is this Marvel trying to fix the problem, saying, no, the Ten Rings is still a real terrorist organization, and this is just a crazy twist we've thrown into it, and they're still a very dangerous organization? Or do you think that it's Marvel doubling down, saying, look, we didn't make a mistake here. Trevor Slattery is a brilliant addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, potentially someday the Marvel 616 universe, and we're going to continue to push him and show you how great it can be. And Drew Pearce is saying that Ben Kingsley really delivers a great performance here, that he committed because of the script that Pearce wrote, so there's some good ideas there, and they're very much pushing this hard. The story broke on Entertainment Weekly. It was like a four digital page article, very in-depth. And I think that, I don't know, I felt the twist was okay. My problem with the twist is that Guy Pearce wasn't, his character, Aldrich Killian, wasn't Asian. I thought he should have been Chinese to really have a nod to the Mandarin's obviously Asian Mandarin heritage. But I was okay with the twist. I thought it was clever. As I said, the Mandarin is not a particularly important character to me, so I was okay with this experiment. I kind of treat it as I do the Man of Steel twists. I'm taking those in stride, and some of the changes that Nolan made, which I thought were interesting. I think if a change in continuity for a movie is made that I feel is well thought out and has some depth and is new and an interesting twist, I'm in favor of it, and I would put the Mandarin twist in that category, just as long as the twist doesn't seem like it's being made for the sake of having a twist, which some of DC's current decisions seem like. But again, Man of Steel, I kind of came around on that movie, as you might recall from my review. I thought it still had huge flaws, but I was okay with it. But with this Trevor Slattery short, I'm very eager to see it. I will be interested to see if they stay with this Mandarin character. People are saying that perhaps this might be hints at Iron Man 4, but we all know that Robert Downey Jr. is not signed up for Iron Man 4, so I don't know how they could make that movie. It's certainly not on the slate. But this is a continuation of the Iron Man stories, which to date are the most popular strand outside of the Avengers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're the most popular storyline. So it'll be interesting. This is the first time I believe they've made a short for them. They have the Agent Coulson short. They had the the Item 47 or whatever, which led into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They had the Agent Carter short that just came up, which was potentially going to lead into a television show. So these shorts do go somewhere. So where might this one go? But what do you think? Does this sound good? Do you want more Trevor Slattery? Are you willing to give him a second chance, or do you just want him to disappear? So write your thoughts down below on that. That's the second story of the day. Oh, and by the way, that Thor The Dark World Blu-ray comes out on February 25th, so mark your calendars. And just a few days later, that same week, is for the third story of the day, on February 28th, Stalingrad, the most successful film in the Russian box office ever, it's a Russian film, and it's the most successful the country's ever seen, will get a one-week run here in the United States on IMAX screens, and it's also in 3D. Now, Stalingrad is a World War II film in 3D. Very interesting choice there. It's a World War II film about a very important battle during World War II in the European theater that really turned the tide. As you know, the Russians were fighting the other front with the United States and the UK on the other side, so there were really kind of two sides of the war going on there. So it'll be usually, because of the focus in entertainment these days in the United States and also in the UK, we usually see stories from that side of the war. But it'll be interesting here to see a story from World War II from the Russian perspective. Now, the film in Russia, the highest grossing film of all time, is $66 million, but still a lot of people turned out to see it, and it's also Russia's entry for the Oscars for the best foreign film. We'll find out on January 16th if it actually earns a nomination. But we've been talking a lot, I mentioned this yesterday in my review for the Monkey King trailer from China, about an emerging global market for films that already exists everywhere else in the world, but it's coming here very slowly. Well, it took a long time to get here, but it's happening fast now in the United States. So we're getting foreign films that we can go and see. And as these films do so well abroad, I think, U.S. distributors, and Columbia is distributing, which is a branch of Sony, is distributing Stalingrad. So I think they're like, well, maybe there's an audience here. And you're also seeing the Bollywood success breaking into the top 10. So very interesting. We've had Bollywood, we're getting China with the Monkey King and such, and now we have a Russian film. So that's interesting. And also, any Russian BTT viewers, have you seen Stalingrad? Is it worth going to see on the big screen as an IMAX 3D experience? Give us your thoughts. So that's the third story of the day. Now for the viewer question, which comes from Gana12345. And Gana says, can you please do a reaction thoughts to the Point Break remake? I discussed that actually on another morning movie news. I'll put the link in the video description. But there was some piece of news that Gana12345 wants to know about, and that's Gerard Butler has just been cast as Bodhi. That's the Patrick Swayze role for the remake. And Gana says, want to know what you think of that. Well, thank you for thinking of me, Gana, when you heard that casting news. When I didn't actually cover it immediately because I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And when you asked the question, I was like, okay, I should address it. People are interested in it. And I guess my surprise and the interest in it is that I kind of feel Gerard Butler is over. Now, granted, he had a surprise hit with Olympus Has Fallen. They're going to actually make another Olympus Has Fallen taking place in the UK. Speaking of the UK, as we just were. And it's kind of been given Gerard Butler his career a second wind. I mean, he kind of faltered with romantic comedies after 300, although I loved The Ugly Truth, although I did have to suffer through The Bounty Hunter. So he's had hits or misses there, so I kind of understand people being mixed on him. But his box office numbers were really falling there until Olympus Has Fallen. And I guess Hollywood is taking that to mean, well, maybe there's still some interest in him. I don't know. I think Olympus Has Fallen, the concept was the star there, and then it was basically a Die Hard ripoff. It really was a Die Hard ripoff. There's this one scene with Dylan McDermott, which is just straight out of Die Hard, to the degree where you're like, it basically rips off the scene where Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis are talking, and Bruce Willis doesn't know that Alan Rickman is the evil guy, and they're trying to be buddies. That famous scene where Alan Rickman tries out his very good American accent. And it was, it was just crazy to sit there and watch it and be like, you're not just, this is an homage to Die Hard, you are actively ripping it off. So I have major problems with Olympus Has Fallen. But anyway, I guess Hollywood is saying there's interest in this guy, even though all of his other movies just totally flopped. So he's been cast as Bodhi. And I don't know, I felt like when I first heard the news about this Point Break remake that they were going to try and go for a younger vibe. It's going to be more of a global look. It's going to have, all different kinds of sports, not just skydiving and surfing, but, sports, extreme sports all over the world. They're trying to make it like a James Bond type franchise for them. But I think Gerard Butler skews a little old. Now, I have no problem with casting diversity in terms of age, and as well as race and gender. I think I'd like to, of course, as a moviegoer, I want to see all types of stories about all types of people. But when you're rebooting, although you could argue that, look at Daniel Craig. He was the oldest first Bond ever, I believe, and I think he's my second favorite Bond to Connery. I think he's very good. But I don't know. I guess it's not Gerard Butler's age that bothers me, but just that he just seems like a leftover at this point as an actor. I'm all for second chances, but I think when you get your second chance, it's because you change things up. You reinvent yourself. Robert De Niro reinvented himself with comedy. Meryl Streep also reinvented herself with comedy. Also bolder movies. She does a lot of, this Into the Woods that she's doing now. She has a lot of great makeup on. She's really going for it. And I really respect that. And so I think that Gerard Butler, though, he's really kind of doing the same. Robert Downey Jr., he reinvented himself by, doing Iron Man character, embracing his really difficult past in real life with drug use and those problems, and taking it and openly dealing with it in an action movie, which was brilliant. And so those are great second chances. But I feel Gerard Butler's just doing the same old, and they're just saying, well, maybe there's just a renewed interest in what Gerard Butler always does. So they'd have to really, I think they could, to get my interest back up in this project, which wasn't very high to begin with, by the way. I guess I'd have to see a trailer. But I'd really be interested who they cast in the Keanu Reeves role. Maybe they'll cast a woman, or they'll bring some diversity. Maybe they'll cast, an African-American actor or a black actor. I'm sorry, African-American is just a de facto thing, but, it could be someone from the UK. Chiwetel Ejiofor, maybe. Who knows? The guy's on a lot of top lists. Maybe they could, an Asian actor, an Indian. Just bring something new here. I guess that's the thing here. You have a remake with a warmed-over actor, and I just feel it doesn't feel very exciting to me, which a movie about extreme sports all over the world should seem more exciting. So that's my thoughts on Gerard Butler being cast as Bodhi. I feel it just makes the movie almost DOA, unless it has an amazing trailer. But it would have to be like a really amazing trailer. But I wonder, what does everybody here think? Are you into giving Gerard Butler a second chance? Do you feel he's fine the way he is? He doesn't need to reinvent it because it isn't broken, so why fix it? Although it was broken at the box office. Write your thoughts down below. Also, why did you like Olympus Has Fallen? Is it because of Gerard Butler, or was it something else that got you into theaters? So write your thoughts down below about the viewer question, today's 3 stories, and anything you'd like to see covered on Monday, and any questions you might have for Monday. Oh, actually, wait, not Monday. Monday will be Golden Globes reaction, because they're on Sunday night. So anything for Tuesday. All right, thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Bye.